Welcome to the podcast, Badass Mother Hustler, where the grit, stress, and the beauty of motherhood and entrepreneurship meet. We'll share the realities and stories of what it takes to make it all work and still be a badass mother. Now here's your host, Maddie Yaka.
Hey everyone, welcome back to season 3. Today we're chatting with badass mother hustler Olivia Westley. She's a mom of 3 and the owner of the Sudsy Mama. Every entrepreneur mom has a story, and we can't wait to hear yours today. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat.
Yay! So can you tell us a little bit about your child, like what your childhood was like, and if entrepreneurship runs in your family?
Yeah, so it does. My dad actually started his own business from scratch. I think he started it when he was 30. He created a business that collected medical debt. So, and he did that until he retired, I think at like 55. So I grew up kind of watching him build that, expand it, open another office, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely, I think, in our family, I grew up around it.
That's super cool because a lot of the people I've been speaking to, I feel like less of them have grown up in the entrepreneur household, which is surprising to me because I feel like it would have been more.
Yeah, for sure. I never, like when I watched him growing up, I was never like, oh, I want to start my own business one day. Like I never thought that. But then it's just like as everything just like kind of came together and it just sort of happened, and maybe, it was inherent in me. Who knows?
I'm the same way. Like my parents had a business, I mean, since I was born or since I could remember. And just like you said, I was never like, when I grow up, I want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
But you just get into your first job and
Yeah.
you're living your life in your first job. And then I feel like that's when you finally are like, yeah, I think I'm going to start my own business.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone like what you did before you started the Sudsy Mama?
Yeah, so I went to college at Westley University, and I went to school to be a teacher. Honestly, like I feel like math and science are like not my strong suits. So, but I feel like I would have probably went more of a medical route, but I was like, I'm not good at math, so I can't. And that was just like, the 18-year-old in me. So I ended up going to school to be a Spanish teacher. I got out and I moved down to Delaware and I taught middle school Spanish for a couple years.
Okay,
And
that is so funny because when we talked on the phone, I don't think you told me that you were a teacher first, and
yeah.
I was a teacher before I started my business.
Oh yeah, probably not, because it was like like it was forever ago.
Yeah.
So I like sometimes like forget it even happened. And I taught for a couple years, and that's when I started volunteering. And I volunteered at like a cat rescue, and I found myself just kind of like I would go there every day after work. I'd be there like all day on the weekends, and I was like what am I doing? I'm like I just every time like whenever I'm at school, I want to be there. So I like wrote to their executive director and was like, hey, like I don't have any experience in anything probably that you guys are hiring for, but I'm looking for a job. Like, could you hire me?
You're like, I'm
And
just going to throw this out there. No experience, but let's go.
yeah, literally. So she emailed back and she was like, here's like 20 more things you can do as a volunteer. And I was like, okay, thanks. So I was just volunteering basically like full time. And then a couple months later, she called me and was like, we're creating this position for a development director. And ironically, it was the Longwood Foundation that had given them funding to start up this position at their organization, which is kind of cool with the parallels of, living in Kennett now. And I just became a development director with no education behind me. I did that for 7 years at the rescue. And it was such a small staff that I wore like all of the hats. During COVID, I got thrown in the clinics. So then I became a vet tech. I became like a clinic manager. I was running their clinics, and they have like high volume spay-neuter clinics. They're sterilizing like 20,000 cats a year.
Wow.
So I was doing a lot there. And then I feel like I'm just like talking. What was my original question?
So, like, what did you do before you started the Sudsy
Okay.
Mama?
So taught, then went to the cat world, and I was in the cat world for 7 years, and it was amazing. It was chaotic. If you know anyone that works in rescue, I'm sure you've heard it. It's just high emotions. You're dealing with a lot of volunteers, so managing volunteers is very challenging. And I was in charge technically of like the grants and fundraising, so it was always kind of chasing the money, and there's never enough money when it comes to
Yeah.
homeless animals. And so I did that, and after I had my twins, I went back. I took 12 weeks off, and I went back to work, and I went back like at first 2 days a week, and then I went back 3 days, and they were super flexible with me, which was nice to have that. And at first, like as a first time mom, you're like all over the place. You're like, I'm going to come back 5 days. And then you're like, just kidding, I'm going to come back 2. And so I was really blessed to have such a flexible job, a boss that would work with me. She was also a twin mom. So
Wow, talk about the chances of that.
I know.
So she gets it, because I mean,
Yeah.
there's one thing like being a first-time mom, and then like you were a first-time mom of twins. So I can't even imagine, like, you didn't even know what mom life was like before that,
Yeah.
but you're doing it 2 times.
Yeah. It was really, really hard. Yeah, it was a hard time in our lives. I just remember, and they were both in the NICU. So one of them was there for about a month, and the other one was about 45 days. And I just remember
Were they born early?
yeah, they were at 34 weeks.
Yeah.
But they were healthy. They just really needed to learn how to like breathe and eat at the same time and, regulate their body temperature. And I just remember after we brought our daughter home, she came home first, and we had her home one night. And I don't know if you can relate, but like that first night that they're home, your first one, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how are they trusting me with this? And I remember driving back to the NICU the next day to go visit my son, like just bawling my eyes out, being like, how am I going to handle 2 of them? Like, what did I do? But it all worked out. And
I feel like most people have those emotions, and you're right. Like, you just get into the thick of it and you do it and you figure it
yes,
out. But yeah,
yes.
that's like super hard. So when they were little, would one be asleep and one wake up and you have to feed them, and then the other one woke up when the other one was asleep, or were they both awake at the same time?
Yeah, so like every twin parent does it differently. So there's a set of twin parents that keep them both on the same schedule. And then there's another set of twin parents that will just, let them lead. So we decided to keep them on the same schedule. Whether that was the best thing or not, I don't know. Either way, I was like losing my mind. So if one woke up to eat, we would feed that one and then wake the other one up. And I think that led to disrupting their sleep constantly and not letting it happen naturally for them always, I think definitely created maybe some sleep issues and some unnecessary crankiness.
So with my first one, the doctors tell you like, okay, they're little, like you need to wake them up I don't even remember what it was, like every 3 hours or something to eat. It
Yes.
was like a month of that. And I was
Yes.
like, yeah, no, I'm just
Yes.
gonna let my kid sleep. And when she's hungry, she'll wake up and she'll let me know.
Well, that's the other thing we were doing because they were preemies. They were like, you need to wake them up every 2 hours to eat. And this went on for like 3 months at home. We were waking them up every 2 hours.
I would die, because that's like you taking a cat nap.
Yeah, don't even it was really it was one of the worst times of my life, those first 6 months. And I had postpartum depression, didn't realize it until I was like out of it. And then I was like, oh, so this is what it feels like to love your babies.
Yeah.
So yeah, needless to say, we have another baby now. He's 4 months old, and we are not waking him ever. He is like just going with the flow. He naps when he wants to nap. He, eats when he wants to eat, and like it is 1 million times better. Like I'm really glad we weren't planning this baby, and we said, after the twins, we're done. We can't do this again. But
So does this feel easier since it's just
oh,
one?
light years easier. Like, and I think it's not just that it's just one. I think it's like we're experienced parents.
Mhm.
We, back when we had the twins, like if a doctor told me to do something, I'm gonna do it. Like I was a rule follower, and I'm like, okay, I need to wake these babies up every 2 hours. I need to do this. We were tracking how many mLs they were eating. Like we kind of got really wonky with the NICU and just our time there kind of made us a little crazy. So this baby, it feels so good to just go with the flow. And I'm so glad I'm getting to experience this, because I felt like I survived the twins newborn stage, and now I'm actually like enjoying it. Like I remember sitting there at one point with the twins and looking at them and being like, I have 18 years of this. Like, how am I going to do this? And now I look at my son who's 4 months, and I'm like, slow down. I'm like, no, your feet are getting too big. You're already in 6 months. Like, stop.
How old are the twins now?
They're 3.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
age difference.
it is. It is. They're they can help a teeny bit,
Yeah, yeah.
but
They're like kind of independent because like my first, she was 2 months shy of being 3 when I had my second, and I was like, "Okay, I feel like that's a good age difference."
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's better
Yeah.
than I think like 2 or 1.5 for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, when you went back from your maternity leave, like I said, it's pretty cool that your boss was also a twin mom and she could kind of
Mhm.
understand the struggles that you were going through. How
Yeah.
long were you back from maternity leave before you decided that you were gonna start your business?
Yeah, I guess it was, my gosh. Well, almost 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I ironically rolled out announced our business, which was initially just going to be like a side thing. I announced it the same day that we got a positive pregnancy test. And that wasn't like our intention at all. And
Did you announce it first and then find out you were pregnant?
no, I think I found out I was pregnant, and then I announced it. But we had been working on like the flyers and stuff like 2 months prior. So we had the idea, like I think literally 2 months before I got pregnant. And I could not go back to my job, and have 3 kids in daycare. It just wouldn't have worked financially for us.
Costs
So
more than a mortgage.
it does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. But my goal, once we found out we were pregnant, I was like, I need to make this work, because I want to be able to have enough that we can still send the twins to school. And then, still be able to do this job. So I needed 3 things. I needed to be able to make enough money that we could still send the twins to school. I needed to be able to do this job and have the baby at home with me. So it needed to be flexible enough that, that the baby could stay.
But
So
how
that
did you come up with this, business idea? Because you obviously came up with it before you knew you were pregnant.
Yeah, so we were down at the beach in the summer, and down with my family, my husband and my kids, and my sister and her husband and their kids came, and they live in Florida, so they came here for the Jersey Shore. My sister's like her husband's not from this area. He's from Florida. So like when my sister came, and she hasn't been to the Jersey Shore in like decades, like over a decade. And she was like, oh, this is amazing. She wanted to go like the boardwalk every day, like just the nostalgia piece of the Jersey Shore. And her husband's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's like, our
He's
beach
like,
is in
we're not in Florida anymore.
yeah. But he forgot to pack underwear. So he only it's like so weird. So he only had the underwear he was wearing. And my husband is actually loves doing laundry. And so much so that like I'll wear something in the morning and like by the end of the day it's like folded clean on the end of the bed.
You are a lucky lady.
I know, I know. Well, maybe not so much anymore because now I'm doing all of it. And so my husband's like, "Oh, no big deal, David. I'll wash your underwear every day for you." So like rather than be a logical person and go buy more underwear at Walmart, they're like they had this little thing where he'd like come down every night and be like, "Hey, Mike, here's my underwear." And he would wash it and like have ready the next day. So that happened. And it just so happened that at the same time in my life, I was just, you know, kind of thinking of, my twins were, they were 2. And I don't know about you, but once they hit 2, I started to feel like more myself, and like kind of wanting to do more things for myself. And one of my things was that I wanted to try to figure out ways that we can, make more money, do better for our family. And so I was in this mindset of like, been thinking for the last like month or two, like, what can we do? And it kind of clicked just that weekend or week. And I was like, he likes laundry. It's like, do people pay people to do their laundry? So I Googled it and they do. There's other businesses out there like this. And I was like, let's do it. Like, let's do this thing. Let's just roll it out and see if anyone wants us to do their laundry. And as I thought more about it, I was like, this is a great way to help other, busy families. And I know for us, laundry is not an issue because my husband loves it. But I know for other families that it is a chore, that they hate doing it. So that's where the whole idea, came from. And then that summer we rolled with it and
You
went with
kept
it.
just thinking about it and how you would expand it and
Yes. And I just started like brainstorming and, I contacted a graphic designer, had a flyer made. And then in October, we just announced it on the Kenna community board and it got like 200 likes, all these comments, and the clients started coming in.
yeah,
And
like, we don't have anything like that locally, and when I heard about you, I was like, "Oh my goodness." They had stuff like that up at Penn State for college students who didn't
Mhm.
wanna do their laundry,
Yeah.
but it's funny that it took so long for an idea like that to hit our community,
Mhm.
and, so it was originally supposed to be a side hustle. At what
Yeah.
point once you announced it, were you like, "Oh my god, we gotta go full time?"
Yeah. So it was mid to late October is when we launched it, and then by February, beginning of February, I was like, we this is too much. So, we were staying up until midnight, 1 o'clock, folding laundry. And in the mornings, like before work, like I would drop the twins off and then go do like 3 drop offs. And I was limited in the territories we could cover because I could only do what I could do before work. So, I was turning down people that, were in Lincoln University that were, further south. And, but I kept getting requests for it. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I was, because I knew I was leaving the rescue. So, but I wasn't going to leave until I had the baby. So I was like, should I stay here and just keep doing this until the baby comes,
How
or should
long how long until you had the baby at that point?
June. So I was
Okay.
due in June. So I was like, or I could leave now and I could be child free at home. My kids are in school, and I could just try to focus on growing this the next couple months as much as I can before the baby comes out, so that when the baby comes, we're in a better position and maybe have some more clients, so that way when baby's here, I can just kind of, go through the motions, not
Instead of having a newborn and going full time, you're like,
yes.
why don't we go full time first, iron out all the bumps, and then add a newborn to the mix?
Yes. So that's exactly what we did. It was scary, like, to do. It's so scary leaving, a job, especially a secure job, to take this leap of faith. And you know, I felt like I was kind of in a nice position because I was able to do it on the side. And so I felt like I could see that it was working. So whereas if I hadn't started it at all, I don't think I would have just quit my job and just jumped and hoped for the best. Like I felt like things were heading in the right direction, and I felt like it was safe to do it.
What made you actually decide to do it before your baby came? Was there
Uh,
something happen at work or
Yeah, I think I was just getting really burnt out at work. It was just, it was 7 years that I was there, and it just kept getting crazier and crazier. And I was exhausted, and I was pregnant. And I was just, I still love it. I always will love it. I'll always be super passionate about helping homeless cats. But I feel like I was at this point where, before kids, that was my purpose. That was my whole thing. That was my identity. And then I had kids, and I was like, you know, I can still help cats. I can still make a difference, but my priority needs to be my family. And while I'm making enough to support our family now, I can do better. I'm more than this. And I think that that's kind of just the weighing on my brain of we're adding another mouth to feed, another kid that's going to, want to do this and want to do that. And I want to give my kids everything and anything that they ever need. So I think it was just all of that weighing on me, and plus just the burnt out of the rescue world, and, knowing that I had an out. I think that's kind of it all just came together.
Yeah, I mean, being an entrepreneur, the ability to make endless money is amazing,
Yeah.
and working a 9 to 5, you're not doing that unless you're climbing a corporate ladder, and doesn't that
Yeah.
come with more hours?
Yes. And that's kind of where I was at with the career there as well, was that's such a good point, that I was their development director. Above me was the vice president, or vice president, and then the executive director. And I didn't ever want to be the executive director. I not that I couldn't do that role, but I didn't, of a rescue, it is just no. That poor lady, I don't even know. She works more hours than there are in a day. She's it's exhausting. There's so much stress there. It's just not something I ever wanted. So in my opinion, there was no more growth for me there. And I kind of reached the end of that ladder, and my paychecks weren't going to increase. And that's why I said, when I left, I kept saying to my husband, this is so nice that every month we can make more money, instead of just getting our set paycheck. It was we can grow as big as we want to be. But on the flip side, being an entrepreneur is it can be, you can have great months and then not great months.
Oh,
So
girl, I know that.
you're not guaranteed that $3,000 paycheck or whatever it is. So you got to work for it. But that is a really cool thing that I remember, I still say it. I still say it. I'm like, this is so cool. They're like, oh my gosh, we're going to hit this. We're going to hit that.
So what, like you said, your old job, you were pretty much burnout because you're juggling this side hustle that's going to go full time. You have twins.
Mm.
So what do you do now to make sure that you don't burn out?
Mm. That's a great question.
Have you so you've been in business a year. Have you felt
No.
overwhelmed and on the verge?
No,
Yeah.
it's very different. I think like with burnout, when it comes to rescue, there's like that emotional piece of it, just seeing animal after animal die, or, this heart-wrenching story, or just there's a lot of drama in the whole rescue world. And it was constant drama, like things that would just and it's drama surrounded by animals. And you will like just like a mama, but like you'll fight for these animals, like, and it's like there's no, because everyone is a volunteer. um they can say whatever they want, they can do
Mm,
whatever they want, and you depend on them.
yeah.
And so I think it was just like the constant like drama that was exhausting me. Like my blood pressure would go through the roof. Like if we'd get a cat returned that someone, hurt, or that, someone burned a cat, like I would I'd have a physical response. And I think that that was the piece that was so stressful. And this, I'm like, I'm doing laundry,
Yeah,
I'm listening to
you're
my
not feeling like that
audiobooks.
over people's laundry, so that's great.
No. Yeah, it was the roller coaster of emotions, I think, that really burnt me out. It wasn't the like overworking or doing too much, or it was the roller coaster of emotions, really.
So, I'm sure people are wondering at this point, do you have multiple washer and dryers at your house?
No, I don't. Yeah, I wish I did.
Are they industrial at least?
Not yet. So I am going with the ones like once they break, we're totally going to probably look into, an industrial option. But right now, until that happens, we're just gonna keep riding it out. Our the and we've thought about adding another one, but then you have to do all the like the plumbing and the electrical work and the in the basement. And um and we can only fold as much as we can fold. So I don't know how much it would increase our like capacity here. So when I found that we couldn't physically do any more laundry than we were already doing here, I which also coincided with when I was going out with the baby, I hired my first independent contractor, who's another actually twin mom in
What?
I know, I know. In Kennett, and she came on board, and she has, her set of clients that she does. So I kind of increased my capacity by adding someone else's washer and dryer out of their own home.
So that kinda brings me to my next question, which is how do you see your business growing in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I see kind of that model following. Hiring different, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mom. Hiring different people that can do laundry out of their own homes. And right now I had an immediate need in Kennett because that's where I started to like really build. But my intentions are I'd like to expand to different areas further out, maybe go down more Delaware County, more in Delaware, and start to hire people in those locations so that we can reach more clients, and grow kind of in that sort of, avenue.
So to our local listeners, where do you service right now?
So we service pretty much all of southern Chester County. And then oh my gosh, I was gonna say, is Westchester southern Chester County?
I don't think people consider Westchester Southern Chester County.
Okay. Okay, good. So, we do Westchester, Downingtown, if that's Southern Chester County, I'm not sure. We do parts of, we'll do like Chadsford, Glen Mills, and then we'll go over to, we do Delaware. We'll do Wilmington, Hockessin, Pike Creek, Greenville, that kind of central, location. And, yeah, that's it for now. But if, you know, I'm not opposed to, I'm at kind of this weird point where it's like I want to grow to these new territories, and I'm just kind of figuring out how to do that. So if I got an inquiry from someone, say, outside of there, but just slightly, maybe they're in Brookhaven, then I might take them on and try to hire at that point, someone to do it out of their own home and just kind of build it like that. And then hopefully we can start then, okay, we got a client in Brookhaven. Let's start promoting it there. And then, fill up my new, my girls' schedule and kind of go like that.
That's what I was going to say. Like, would you get a client in Brookhaven and then on some Delco Facebook page start advertising?
Yeah, I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. So balancing motherhood and being an entrepreneur is not always smooth sailing. What has been stressful about managing both roles?
So I think just all of it. I think it's just really exhausting. You're with your kids from the second they wake up until the second they go to bed. And I think things got significantly harder for me with the baby because there are literally no breaks aside from when he naps. So at least when the twins were in school and I was doing this, I had, a big chunk of time during the day to get done what I needed to get done. So I think the balancing act is just kind of the stressful part is that it's all it's 24/7. At least at the stage especially we're at right now. We're really hustling. So we're doing the labor. I'm doing the behind the scenes, the finances, the marketing. I'm doing everything. So like literally I said to my husband yesterday, I was like, because 2 days a week the twins go to a school where they get done at 12:30. And I've made this, they started there in the fall, and I made this mental commitment to myself that on Tuesday, Thursdays, I am going to stop work at 12:30 and I'm going to be present. We're going to do activities because what's stressful is when I try to do work and watch them at the same time. So it's like I can't do both. I can maybe switch a load, but I can't be folding laundry, with them, and they want my attention. So, and I think we're almost halfway through October and it's been working out pretty well. But I think just the juggling act is really stressful of giving them your attention and also trying to get all of the work you need done. So I guess where I'm going is with me doing that, it ends up, our nights are long. They go to bed and I'm still up until midnight folding. I sat down last night to eat an Italian ice. The baby had awful naps. Literally I had no breaks yesterday. I sat down at 11 o'clock and ate an Italian ice. And I literally had 5 bites. And I said to my husband, I was like, this is the first time that I have stopped today. And as soon as I said that, the baby started sucking on his hand. And I'm like, no. I'm like, do not wake up. And I'm like, I can't even finish my Italian ice. So I think just the juggling act of, being present for your kids and also getting everything done that needs to get done for the business, for me, is the most stressful part right now.
I agree with you. Now my daughter's in kindergarten, and before she was at daycare with my son, and I had them there 3 days a week, and I would drop them off at 8:30, pick them up at 5. So 3 days a week, I had a huge chunk of time to do my business. And I would try to only schedule things for my business during that time so I could be present with them on Tuesdays and Thursdays when they were home. Well, now she's in school and she gets off the bus at 3:30, which cuts an hour and a half or 2 hours off of what I was doing before. And, like you said, they deserve our time and attention. So I've made a mental commitment with myself that when she gets off the bus at 3:30, I'm done work and I'm spending that hour or hour and a half doing something with her before I go and pick up my son.
Yeah.
And it was hard at first. And yesterday, I was still answering emails and taking care of business when she got off the bus, and she was like, "Mom, look at this, mom this, mom that." And then I find myself being short with her because
Yeah,
I was trying to finish what I was doing. And I'm like, God, that's not fair to her. Like,
I know.
so
I
yeah,
know.
it's hard.
It's really hard. And I think as moms, we're really hard on ourselves too, you know? Like, of course we're still gonna have emails or calls that'll pop up like during that time frame. And I think we just need to like be better at like giving ourselves some grace. But like I feel like our own worst enemy half the time. And then on the flip side, it's like 3-year-olds are so frustrating. Like I'm like each day I think of like a fun activity that we can do together. And yesterday I went out, I got these like white pumpkins, I ordered dried flowers, and I got some Mod Podge, and I was like we're going to, do the dried flowers on the pumpkins. This is going to be great. This is going to take at least 20 minutes. 3 minutes. 3. And I'm just like, what? What? So it's like, it's all just, you just got to roll with it. And, I think I don't know. I don't know what that
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Gosh, you think something's going to take longer than it is with a kid, and they
Yeah.
just fly on through there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to switch over to our rapid fire 5 and 5. What does your ideal chill day look like?
So is that with kids or without kids?
That's up to you. What
Oh
does an
my
ideal chill
gosh.
day look like to you?
Wow. I think an ideal chill day would just be like being on the beach, whether the kids are there or not. Just sitting on like I would love to just go and sit on the beach for hours and hours. Or with a book and just hang out, just chill, maybe have a fun drink, and that's my ideal chill day.
That sounds pretty awesome. What are you currently reading or listening to?
Okay, so I am so not into this book, and I don't like I'm so not into it. I don't even know what it's called, but it's the one that you might know. It's like the really popular fantasy series that do you know what I'm talking
It
about?
has like an apple on it or something, and is it like
Mhm.
fairies and stuff? Is it
It's
by
like
that
fish.
Moss lady?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I don't know what it's called. And I am not into fantasy generally. But I've talked to a couple different people that are not into it either, but love these books. And they were like, give it a try. So I've given it a try, and I just can't get into it. So I'm like kind of stuck. Like I'm like at that point where I'm like, all right, am I gonna just move on or what? So unfortunately, I'm not into that, but normally I like thrillers. I like romance, all those kind of novels.
You probably listen to most of your books, right?
Yeah, so I do. I listen to all of them. I used to read when I had more time, but I I listen to them
But
in
but now you need your hands to fold,
yeah,
so you
yep,
listen.
yeah. It's perfect. I love it because watching TV and folding. Some people are like, "Oh, it's so nice. You can just watch TV." It's actually not as it's not as easy as you think because you're not like really paying attention, and you're not really like looking at the TV because you got to look at the clothes. So listening to an audiobook or podcast is definitely really nice.
And you're going for efficiency, so you would not be watching TV, you're listening to something.
Yeah, I always, if my husband's helping me fold like at night, he'll always have sports on the TV, and like if there's like a big play, he just like stops what he's doing and just like stares at the TV, and I'm like, let's go.
Oh my goodness. What's from a business owner perspective, who is your role model?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. Um, I guguess honestly, my dad is a good role model because he really built something pretty big out of nothing. And, I heard the stories of, and he's didn't go to college. And, him and my mom both had like 2 jobs, like to try to get this up and running. They lived off of very little and grew it into this really successful business. And so, I often will, call him for advice and suggestions. And he's definitely been, a little bit of a mentor along this process.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What is the song that you blast the shit out of if entrepreneur mom life is too much for you that day?
Okay. I love blasting Olivia Rodrigo. Like,
Ooh,
I just love singing her songs.
which one?
Oh, all of them. Vampire, maybe Vampire.
She really blew up. I think it was like during COVID, right?
She did. Yeah, she did. And she's pretty similar to Taylor, so like I'll blast Taylor Swift too. But now my like kids are starting to they just want to listen to Shake It Off on repeat. So it's like I'm like, all right,
You're like, speaking of burnout, I am burnt out
yeah.
of that song.
Yeah, exactly.
What's some advice you can give a struggling entrepreneur mom?
Mm, um, that's a good question. I would say just like stick with it, and find support in other moms. I like love leaning on other moms and talking to other moms, whether it's like to learn from them, working, business entrepreneur moms, whether it's to like learn or to vent. Like it's this community that, we all kind of get it. And I've, on social media, on Instagram, like I've, become friends with some of these moms. And so like kind of lean into the community. You're not alone. There's a lot of people rooting for you, and just like stick with it and push through.
Definitely find your entrepreneur mom group so that you can vent to them because other people just don't really get it.
No, people, especially in this industry, in the laundry, they think that I'm just here. Like I had someone say to me, like, "How is it not working anymore?" And I was like, "I I am working." They're like, "Well, no, you're just doing laundry." And I'm like, "No, you have no idea. Like I'm literally running a business and doing every single part of it right now."
You're
So
like, honey, I fold laundry from 9 to 3 and then I'm delivering it.
yes, yes, and then I'm making the posters, then I'm doing the posts, and then I'm, like, talking to the accountant, and then but I'm
Yeah,
just folding
I
laundry.
mean, people don't get like aside from what they see, so like your business is cleaning, folding, delivering laundry. They don't realize all of the stuff that comes behind there, like finances and the taxes and advertising
Yeah,
and who's going to do it? You are. There's no one else.
yeah, exactly.
Now this is a question I forgot to ask before we got in our rapid fire 5 and 5, so it'll be my last question. What does a typical day look like as an entrepreneur mom for you?
So a typical day for us is, waking up when the kids get up, getting all the kids, fed, clothed, out the door, and then coming back home, getting whatever laundry, tying up loose ends. I do like delicates will air dry overnight sometimes. So kind of getting everything together, going on some drop offs and pickups, coming home, getting laundry started. And then once it gets started, I probably have to feed the baby again. The baby might be awake, maybe take the baby on a walk, maybe come in, make, a work phone call, send an email, maybe try to sit down. If he's napping, maybe make a reel, do a post. And then, rotating laundry. Then at some point in my day, I'm going to fold laundry. And this is all meanwhile, caring for the baby. And then I try to do all my drop offs in the morning, get that done out of the way,
Will you drop the kids off and then head with all the laundry already in your car and make your drop-offs?
No, I'm normally not that prepared. Because I take the morning then to kind of get everything together. I don't do it the night before. Because the night before we're still generally like folding everything and even sometimes washing it. So, and just getting the kids in the car is like enough. So, and then, sending client invoices, throughout the day. And then, pick up the twins, and then it's mommy mode, and we got dinner, play, PJs, bath, bed around 8, and then get the baby down after that, sometimes before that, and then back to the laundry, and then maybe text some more client text reminders.
And I can't even believe that after all of that, you go back to your job at 8 or 8:30 at night. Because I started to do that when I first started my business, and in the last, like, year, I've decided not to, and last night I actually had to, like, after dinner, baths, bed, I had to sit down for, like, 45 minutes, and I was like, "God, this sucks." Like,
It
I'm already out of work mode.
I know, it really does. The nice thing about it is that, like, at night, I generally like, I'm not going to be, like, creating content at 8:30 at night or doing anything like, you know, marketing. I'm not doing that kind of brain work. I'm just folding. So I don't need to get kind of in that right mindset, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So but yeah, my goal, you ask about goals in the next 5 years, definitely I'm hoping before 5 years. I don't want to be working after, 5 o'clock. But I understand that right now we got to hustle. And so that's just where we're at in life. And, it is what it is. And, my husband and I, it kind of makes us talk more. We chat while we fold sometimes. And, it kind of has, keeps us connected rather than just like sitting down in silence and watching a TV show. It's, we sit and talk about the day and, what's going on. And, it's been kind of nice for that as well.
Yeah, that's really nice. So, I mean, I could ask you seriously 1,000 questions, like I already have 10 more in my head, but we're already at the end of the show. So, if listeners wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way that they could get in touch?
Just by phone, typically by calling or texting. My number is 610-763-5711. Or by social media. It's the Sudsy Mama. We're on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yay. Thank you for having me. This was great. This was fun.
I loved chatting with you. Thank you so much.
All
So, I'm
right.
going to leave everyone with a quote like I always do. Sometimes new growth requires new company, new locations, and a new mindset. All right, everyone. Until next episode.
Thank you for joining this episode of Badass Mother Hustler. If you loved this episode as much as we did, and it left you feeling inspired and empowered, give us a quick like and subscribe, and we'll invite you back to our next episode. And be sure to share us on your socials and visit our Instagram, Badass Mother Hustler Podcast. We'll see you next time.